Hey everybody, welcome to tonight's OfferVault webinar. We haven't seen you guys in a while on a webinar, and I'm glad to get everybody on board with us tonight. We have more people that are flowing in here, so we're going to give it just about one more minute, and then we will kick everything off. I see, a lot of people from, actually, if you could type in where you're from. Okay, Joe is from Texas. We have, as usual, I'm sure there's people from all over the world here, so if you could just ping us in your question box and we could get an idea where you're all from. Wow, a lot of Boston and Boise, Canada, Chicago, Florida, Asheville, North Carolina, British Columbia, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, Ireland. The usual scattering from across the globe here, which is cool. Oklahoma, Jordan, that's pretty far. UK, the UK, it's pretty late. I know people sometimes get up in the middle of the night for these webinars, so we appreciate you guys doing that. Of course, okay, New York City, right close by. That's good. I'm echoing a little bit, so let me turn that down. Okay, so once again, I want to welcome everybody to tonight's OfferVault webinar. Tonight we have Tommy Leantonio on with us from ClickCertain, and he's going to be talking about RTB, which is a great topic, and I'll get to that in a second. It's been, as I said, a while. We used to do webinars like religiously every single week, and we've kind of fallen off that track for a few months now. But we're going to get back on and do at least 2 or 3, a month again. We're getting back to that, so I'm getting the queue filled up, and we're getting them all scheduled. So you'll be seeing more, emails about webinars coming up. So keep your eyes peeled for that. This screen that is up now, of course, I'm sure you're all familiar with, which is OfferVault, of course, and this new interface is actually not so new anymore. It's probably been about, I think, 8 months since we launched this interface. So it's been going really well. A lot of people like it. We have the new tabs. You can see that if you wanted to go right to mobile offers or pay-per-call, emails, zip submits, you can go right to those offers. So it's another feature that we added to make it, a little easier and quicker for you guys to get to the offers you want to get to. Oh, okay. So just wanted to mention that. Also, 2 other quick housekeeping items that people always ask about. One is that we are recording the webinar tonight as usual, and that if you would like to view it at a later date, you can always get into the members area. So just log into OfferVault, click on the webinar tab, and you can watch the replay. Also, just want to mention that you could always type questions into the question box. Tommy will probably go through his whole presentation and keep the questions till to the end, but you can type them in really whenever you want, and Tommy will try to answer as many as he can towards the end of the webinar. So RTB, real-time bidding. Tommy has been working on this stuff for a while now. He's definitely one of the experts when it comes to this, and he's got some great stuff to share with you tonight. Tommy, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
Well, thanks for coming on. RTB is definitely one of the more exciting, kind of up-and-coming technologies in the space, and I'm really glad that you're here to share something about that with us tonight. So with that, I think I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. I want to start with this. My whole business prior to getting onto the internet, been in marketing and sales for the better part of 25 years. Been in my own business that entire time. And when I got online, I'm not a tech guy by any stretch of the imagination. So for me, it was email. That's what we were doing back then. The word spam wasn't even in the vocabulary. And, it was so easy to press a button and boom, you would get traffic. And since that time, the evolution of SEO, PPC, for the better part of 7 years, last 7 years, I've owned a linking company doing SEO for offline businesses. And, obviously with what's been going on with SEO, knowing that that was coming to an end. Never thought it would last as long as it did, but for the last 7 years, we've been heavily involved in that, and I still have that. But about 2 years ago, I really started to dig in and take a good hard look at what's going on, what's the next thing. I live in Long Island, grew up in Queens, so for me, being so close to Manhattan, the way I figured it out was I ran ads, and I was looking to hire guys that worked for, um, advertising companies, and not ad agencies, but the Ready Ads and all those kind of companies, and get an idea of what I didn't know. And I had been doing online media, and if anyone's ever bought banner advertisement display prior to RTB, there was no transparency. So if you had a good relationship with the person you were buying your inventory from, you would get a really good gauge as to whether or not you were getting good traffic, you were getting good impressions or not. But in many cases, it was hit or miss. If you weren't selling something that was available to the mainstream, you struggled, and so there were certain things that just didn't lend itself to display advertising. So having stumbled upon real-time bidding, for us, when we sit down and we talk about display, and let's get into exactly what we're talking about. The reason display came on board is simple supply and demand. There was so much inventory, banner advertisements, impressions, billions of impressions that went unsold every day. And the system was inefficient because as a buyer, as I said, I was struggling to get conversions. If I didn't have the right product, it didn't really lend itself to that type of advertising. I would get, a ton of impressions, but I would get no conversions. I would get no ROI on my investment. And sometimes I would get incredible ROI. It really depended on the product. And what I found was, without having an idea of what worked and what didn't, I couldn't tweak it. So if you've done Google content, you can go in and say, look, I'm not getting any conversions off of these clicks from this site, and I can blacklist the site. So what RTB did was modeled after Wall Street, okay? So if you think of a publisher just like a stock that wants to be on a stock exchange, but with a publisher, a website owner, they get to sell their advertising on an ad exchange, okay? And I couldn't go down to the New York Stock Exchange to buy a stock. I would go to a stockbroker. And a DSP, a demand-side platform, is a stockbroker, and that's what ClickCertain is, a DSP. And the advertiser, obviously, is the end buyer of the stock. So the company that invented this, MediaMath, was the inventor of this model. The reason this worked was it gave site owners the ability to sell an individual impression. Okay? Now think about that. You're not advertising on a site. You're buying a single impression. So what determines that single impression? So for myself, I'm married, got three kids, college educated, own a home. I have thousands of attributes, okay, that apply to Tommy Lee Antonio. And so for me, you can target me. I'm a business owner, right? You can target me based on any one of those attributes. And it changes the dynamic. So now an impression on any site is valuable, okay? And that's the way RTB works. So I go out, I visit, I'm into rock climbing. I'm not, but let's pretend that I am. And I go to a rock climbing website. You can advertise a business product on that rock climbing site because it matters to me. Now, that makes that single impression at that rock climbing site so much more valuable. So, we're all online, so we know the value of Facebook and Google, right? But now it makes all that other inventory that was somewhat worthless, like that rock climbing site may get 10,000 impressions a day or 10,000 impressions a month, but you could really only advertise to rock climbers. Now, everybody in the world that visits that website, if I'm a rock climber, I'm also a business owner. I'm also a married man. I'm also a father of three. I have 2 daughters. I have a son. I mean, all those attributes, okay, are things that you can target. You can target, well, we're going to get into it here in a second, but there are 30,000 different segments in RTB, in our system, that you can break down and target somebody with, okay? And again, to go back, simple concept, The highest bid wins, okay? It's an auction, and you pay 1 cent above the second place bid. So if Mark bids 50 cents and I bid $1, I win, but I pay 51 cents, okay? Now, you bid on a CPM basis. CPM is cost per thousand. M in Roman numerals is 1,000. So cost per thousand. So I pay 1/1000th of 51 cents for that single impression, okay? And the way in which each impression goes up on auction, okay, and it's auctions at the ad exchanges, okay, you have all the attributions. So in this example, a woman who's married, lives in Boston, and has a newborn, an ATF is above the fold, okay? And we'll double back on above the fold. If anyone's buying any RTB traffic or any banner advertisement, you should really stay above the fold. And if you are advertising below the fold, you need to pull that out and run that as a separate test. You'll find that you're wasting your money doing anything below the fold, okay? But you can target, now again, I have only 4 plus the ATF on this particular example, but the reality is there are thousands of attributes for each individual person, okay? So as the system works, each one of these companies, all right, down the left-hand side are, for argument's sake, they're SSPs and they're ad exchanges. The difference being size and who they represent, but these are the suppliers of impressions. They all manage sites. So there are 16 ad exchanges, and then there are a number of private marketplaces that we go to. So Specific Media, AdScale, Google AdX, AdConductor, AdBright, AdJug, AdMeld, AppNexus, Casal, Legit, PulsePoint, Right Media, which is Yahoo, LifeStreet, Facebook, Pubmatic, Nexage, OpenX, Yahoo, Improved Digital, Microsoft, Rubicon, and Creo. Okay? Every one of them manage sites. And every single impression on those sites goes up for auction every day on an individual auction, individual impression basis, okay? And they send each one of those impressions. So when somebody lands on a website, okay, they send that impression down the pipe to us. All right, now our system, I said it on the first screen, we handle 30 billion banner impressions per day. That means that we get 30 billion banner impression calls per day to our system. And we have to answer. Even if the answer is no, we're not interested, we have to answer. And the reason you have to answer is if you don't, then they won't send you those calls the next day. Our system handles, okay, the largest number of impression calls in the industry. All right? Our system is integrated through MediaMath. Okay, we use MediaMath and we use DataZoo and pretty soon AppNexus. And I'll get into in a second why we use 3 different systems. And the main reason is that we use the systems we use is so that we can handle the largest number of banner impressions. Okay, so every day we get over 500. How was it? I'm sorry, 400,000 and change per second. Okay, over 400,000 banner impressions per second. Okay, so the data centers are an extremely high cost. That's why we have integration partners. And as you'll see as we go through this, the real beauty of it is Google no longer controls this. Facebook never doesn't really control this. As much volume as those two do together, there's still 65% of the inventory that has nothing to do with them. Okay? The beauty of this entire system is it's a pure auction. Highest bid wins, 1 penny above the second place bid. And you can get banner impression on 30,000 different data segments. Okay? So the system that you get involved in, and I'm going to get into this here in a second, this system that we're in with MediaMath, for example, is used by over 50% of the Fortune 500. They know, and I have a couple of slides in there. I apologize, I'm talking about slides I haven't gotten to them. They know who they want to market to. They market to the top 20,000 companies, the enterprise level, okay, because every one of those companies has an ad agency. that handles their account. So, you know, Ford doesn't go to MediaMath. Ford's agency goes to MediaMath. American Express's agency goes to DataZoo. They don't go directly, okay? They go through their agency, and therefore they don't have to support them the same way they would support all of us individually. So to go direct, if anybody wanted to go to any one of those companies, they're fantastic, okay? There's a minimum monthly spend. It's anywhere between $50,000 a month, $30,000 a month, $100,000 a month. AppNexus is $100,000 a month, and you have to sign a 12-month contract. What I looked at when I looked at that market, because I know the internet marketing world, and I said to myself, you know what? If anyone on the call has any familiarity with Yahoo, at one time to advertise with them, you had to spend $20,000 a month. And then Right Media came along and said, you know what? We can break that up, and you can get the same Yahoo inventory, but you only have to do $5,000 a month minimum spend. I learned from that situation, and I said to myself, you know what? I want to bring this to the individual, the single one-man company. And the reason is because out of the 23 million companies in the United States, 22 million of those 23 do less than $1 million in revenue. And this software, while designed for the Fortune 500, and quite frankly, the top 20,000 companies in the United States do 50 million or more in revenue each. That's who they want to service. I looked at that and I figured out a system for anybody to be able to get into this system without having to guarantee any spend or have any monthly contract, okay? When somebody lands on a website, it goes out through that ad exchange that manages that website. It sends out all the attributes of the individual, and again, I'm limited by space. I only show you 4, but she could have thousands. It goes out to all the different DSPs. All the bids go in, highest bid wins, and the banner gets presented. And that happens in 100 milliseconds, okay? We handle over 400,000 of those per second, okay? So the amount of technology that goes into this, I could never in a million years, you could give me $50 million and a killer team of programmers, and I could never catch up to this. And what you'll see as I start to describe RTB, there's so many players in this market. I mean, from the ad exchange side, you're talking Google, Facebook, okay? Amazon just announced that they're coming out with their ad exchange. Facebook went through beta so quickly, and in 7 months, they're reporting that they're doing $1 billion in revenue, okay? The amount of major league companies that are involved in this, I'm going to get into the data side here in a second. All the data is provided by, you know, companies like Adobe, Nielsen, MasterCard, Equifax, okay? You're talking about major league companies. There's so much going on from a technology standpoint, and the way they work it is it's layered, okay? It's integrated. All of us work together. When I talk about these other companies, I always get asked, because my first instinct when I looked at this was I should go direct. And you know what? It's not worth it financially. I can have the exact system that a Fortune 500 company has, and all I had to do was walk in the door with, I had all my SEO clients. We converted them into RTB. We showed them that there's a whole long tail out there. They were going after the enterprise level. They didn't care about anything below that $50 million a year mark. And we turned around and we showed them a market and said, you know what? We want to bring it to them. And the reason is because when you are talking about marketing on the level that we're micro niche people. You know, we go into not the dieting, we go into the just gave birth dieting. We just get, you know, we do the elderly. You know, we get into the niches, the minor, small little nitty gritty. Anybody who understands PPC will tell you, if it wasn't for for the internet marketing world, we pointed out niches Google didn't even know they could sell clicks in 7, 8 years ago, 10 years ago. Okay? With this system, and it's so perfect for what we do from a data-targeted standpoint, you can drill down and find your best prospect, okay, and pinpoint the ad just at the people you want to advertise to. And I'll give you an example. I have a client, I always tell this story, it's one of my favorite stories. This guy hand builds wine cellars, $250,000 wine cellars. Now, how does he advertise? You can't advertise that kind of thing to just wine drinkers because not everybody can afford a $250,000 wine cellar. So we target people who own houses that are worth over $2 million. We target people who make over $1 million, and they like to drink wine. And what we know from our customers is that the majority of the people who do this are male, and they're a certain age. And so as we start to gain that profile, that persona of who his best prospect is, we use our software to drill down. Now, I wanted to talk about data, all right? So data. So there's two different kinds. There's first-party data, and then there's third-party data. First party is somebody came to your website, right? If somebody visited ClickCertain, that's data that came through my own doing, right? First party, it's first party to me. Now, what's retargeting? And by the way, I show this slide. There's, I think, 15 or 16 slides in here. This is the most important slide. If you want to understand RTB, okay, it is all about retargeting. It's about remarketing to somebody who visited your website. Now, this system has the ability to not only retarget, but to bring people to the site if you don't have any traffic to begin with, all right? But in this particular example, we're talking about you bringing somebody to the site, whether we did it or you did it. They don't buy, they leave, and now you have the ability, because you placed a cookie on their computer, okay, where you can advertise to them, put banners in front of them, and drive them back. And you can do this for pennies on the dollar. It's a bidding situation, so you can control how much you're willing to pay to bring them back. So, for example, on a regular banner ad, if I get 1 or 2/10 of 1%, all right, so 1/10 of 1% means I'm getting 1 visitor per 1,000 impressions. So you figure out what your cost per click is, and that should be your bid. In retargeting, you get much higher numbers, you know, upwards of a full percent, which means you're getting 10 visitors. If you're getting 1% on 1,000, you're getting 10 visitors. So if you're bidding 10 cents, you're paying a penny per click to bring somebody back. Now, I'm going to say this to you. Most people look at retargeting and will tell me retargeting works for them. And I'm going to ask you why. And the reason is because I've been in sales and marketing my entire life, and not everybody buys the first time. Not everybody is ready to go at the time you ask them to make a decision. By being able to bring somebody back, you now have the ability to give them more information. You can drive them back to any site, your site, another site. So if you're an affiliate, you can retarget them back to multiple sites. If you ask them for a sale on the first visit and they didn't go for it, maybe the next time you drive them back to an opt-in and start to work them through your autoresponder. Okay? Now, these cookies you own. They're in our system. They don't go away. They're not there for 30 days. And like I said, you can do pretty much whatever you want. You can drive the traffic back wherever you want. If you wanted to, I would not recommend it, but if you were to cookie somebody based on, let's say, a diet offer, but now you wanted to try and sell them something else, you could. Obviously, you want to make sure that that person, you know, has an interest in what you're advertising to them, but you control the cookie. You own it, and therefore you have the ability to bring people back at will. And if you've been in SEO for the last year, you know what's happened to your traffic. If you could go back and re-cookie all the traffic you had, you'd be able to bring them back right now. So if you've lost traffic and now you start to retarget this, now you have the ability to multiply that traffic, okay? Because not everybody buys on the first visit. So that's first-party data. The second part is third-party data, all right? So in this particular case, you know the sites. I advertise on Alexa.com as an example for ClickCertain. Why? Who goes to Alexa.com? Website owners, okay? I advertise on Site Stats, sites that gives stats for websites. And why? Because website owners go there. So for me, I choose all the sites that I want to put into this system, that I want to run ads on. Okay, our system handles 98% of the internet. So wherever somebody travels on a retarget, 98%. If you want to put Alexa.com in here, if you want to put a site in here, you can. The list is well over a couple of million. I mean, Google alone puts over 2 million sites into the system. So we can't supply a site list. You'll put the site in if you get traffic and you know it takes RTB. I will tell you that it's rare that you don't get traffic on a site. So most everybody puts some form of their inventory. Maybe they don't put 100% of their site traffic in to RTB, but almost every site puts site traffic into RTB. So you can reverse engineer where your competitors' ads run and advertise there. You can choose sites based on keyword and pick the sites and put them into the system. And if anyone's ever done peel and stick with PPC, the way I do it is we put like 200-300 sites in. We get a transparency report the next day. We see which sites we got clicks on, and the ones that didn't, you pay for the impressions. You don't want to keep paying for sites that aren't getting click-throughs, right? So we have a whitelist and a blacklist scenario in our software. You just put all the sites that you want to eliminate, don't advertise here. You blacklist all the sites that are not converting and keep the ones that are converting. And then what I do is when I see conversions on a site, I peel it out and create a new targeting group. And therefore, I can determine exactly how much I can afford to pay for advertising on that site, because I can drill it down by doing that and figuring out the CPA on that particular site. So there's some really cool things in here. And like I said, we have 30 billion banner impressions daily, which means much more traffic that you're going to be able to get by, going out and going door to door one site at a time and seeing if you can advertise. The next thing you can do is geo-targeting. And we're going to talk about being able to sell this to businesses, but you can drill down based on geographics, state, on the city level. We're in 241 countries and 40 languages. I get asked this question all the time, on a specific site, a specific country. Brazil gets like 1.2 billion hits, banner impressions per day. I have all the stats in all our countries. The Philippines gets over 400 million per day. The numbers on it are psychotic. And when you start looking at some of like the most obscure countries, South Korea, Vietnam, we get traffic on. So you can do geo-targeting. Now, you can do geo-targeting by doing geo with other options, and I'm going to get into a couple of them now, but let's say you wanted to just advertise for a local company. I know a lot of guys in my system do SEO, and they're local. So if you wanted to advertise with a zip code, if you wanted to do site targeting and say, hey, anybody who goes to this site that's from the zip code, you can do that, all right? If you can, everything as we go forward, you can add geo to everything. The other one is contextual, all right? There are two companies we use. Pier 39 is one of them. It's your bid. They tack on 10 cents. So if your bid's 10 cents, you're bidding 20. That's how you have to look at it, but you're paying 1/1000th. There are 367 contextual categories, okay? There are subcategories in those 367 contextual categories. And what the software does is it goes out and visits the page and drills down and finds out what the semantic meaning, and if anyone does SEO, they know what semantic is. It's more than just the keyword level. It gives you the true page meaning, all right? So you know exactly what that website is about, and it then gets categorized, and then you can run ads based on those categories, okay? There's no category gets less than 200,000 impressions a day, so significant volume in every category. In addition to that, if you wanted to, you could take your keyword list, submit it. It takes about 6-8 weeks, and we'll write an algorithm and create your own custom category. Okay? I will tell you, you need to be doing some volume for Pier 39 to do that. They don't charge a fee, but they're going to ask us how much volume do they do, and if you don't do any, they're not going to do 6-8 weeks. Because what they'll do is they'll write an algorithm, and they'll figure out how to create traffic for you based on your keyword set. Pardon me, I'm getting a little parched. So the next one is audience targeting, and this is where it starts to get get very fun. You can go in and drill down. Okay, we have detailed information on 300 million people. All right, we get data from 21 different data providers. And I said before, Nielsen, Equifax, MasterCard, Adobe. You're talking about, take Equifax. Equifax, you can get financial information. It's more than just credit score. It's assets, it's income, it's, it's everything financially. They have the financial knowledge on every single human being in the United States. Every adult, excuse me, in the United States. They have access into their wallet, you know, and MasterCard and all these other companies, you're talking about having the ability to drill down based on search, social, interest, behavior, demographics, transactional, and in the market. So if someone's actively shopping for car insurance, you can drill down on that. And the way it works is you do bid, plus you pay like a rate. So I'll get into an example here in a second. If you wanted to advertise to married women with a master's degree who drink wine, love You'll Play yogurt, and drive an Audi Q5 and live in the zip code 90210, you can. Okay? So all of those in orange are a data point. Now, the zip code is free. You just pay your bid if you do just straight geo. But the other ones, there's a price attached to it. There's a rate card. So let's say married women was 60 cents and master's degree was $1 and drink wine, You'll Play, and Audi was $0.25 each. You would pay the $1. That's all you would pay. You pay for the most expensive piece of data and you get the others for free. Now, there's probably 6 women in the entire United States that meet that, in that zip code, that meet that criteria. So you would never get that crazy. But go back to my example that I gave you earlier with my guy who develops wine cellars. Okay? Anybody who buys his $250,000 wine cellar has to have a house worth more than $250,000. So we advertise to people who have houses worth over $2 million, who are wine drinkers, who are males, who have incomes above $2 million. Okay? And there's a couple other things that we do, and I'm not going to get into it, but there are things that he found out about his client base. As an example, one of the data providers, I mentioned we have 21 different data providers. There's companies that are called aggregators. They provide they accumulate data from all sorts of different entities, smaller, and one of them is Bizzo. And Bizzo, for example, gives you data on 80% of the U.S. business community. You want to drill down based on profession. You want to drill down based on company size. You want to drill down based on company revenue. You want to drill down based on an executive, frontline, whatever. You have the ability within, just say that, to drill all the way down. We get into behavior, transactional. I mean, it's, like here, You'll Play yogurt, people who bought things in the last 30 days, people who bought from Walmart in the last 30 days. You have 30,000 different detailed audience segments that you can drill down on. Okay? This is the last one. The only way to describe this, and I don't put it up here, it's called programmatic buying. You can look that up in Google and you'll get a tremendous amount of information on it. The way it works is really simple. As you drive traffic to your website, every time you convert somebody, and let's say conversion could mean just getting a click, conversion could mean getting a download, getting a form fill out, getting an email, or getting a sale. Whatever you determine success is, okay? Our system will take that conversion and it will profile each and every success you get, okay? And it takes that profile and it only advertises to that profile. And it watermarks. 90% of your spend will go towards the profile and 10% will keep going out and prospect for new potential prospects, okay? And it will refine that success profile, all right? So your banner is only shown to the lookalike, okay? And it will also optimize to a CPC or CPA goal, all right? So that what this system will do is it'll make a determination on each individual banner impression in that 100 milliseconds and determine what's the likelihood of getting a conversion, what's the likelihood of getting it at the right price, and then it'll bid accordingly. Okay? And the longer the system runs, the more successes you put through the algorithm, okay, the better the profile becomes, the better the conversions become, okay. This is used by all the Fortune 500 companies. All right, programmatic buying, it's only done by 3 companies. We're one of the 3, and that's only because MediaMath has it. All right, we are integrated to get stuff like this, okay. This is beyond. I would recommend anybody to slow down before they do this first. I would work with some of the other stuff that we do, but this is at the deep end of the pool. Okay, it's very significant if you own a product. It's definitely worth the time to test this out. Um, it's as good as it gets as far as the next level up from this is something they call guaranteed programmatic, with their guaranteeing sales. Think of it this way: every time they know what the range is. Like I run a report in our system every month. All right, I can tell you all the sites that we get traffic on. Now, this report cuts off at 15,000 sites. All right, but there are millions that we sell impressions on. But we cut it off at 15,000, or this thing would be 8 miles long. All right, and typically that at the 15,000 mark, there's about 30,000 impressions. That's the amount of impressions sold. But I also get something else. I get a price range. So I know how much the bids are typically won for that particular URL. Okay? So if I know this, I can only imagine what this system knows. They're breaking this down based on day and time, based on banner size, based on above the fold, below the fold. I mean, it's psychotic. As an example, we just ran reports over the last 4 months, and we found out that 90% of our traffic comes from 4 banner sizes. The other 2, so if you went 6, you would cover like 97% of the inventory available in our system. That's all you would need is 6 banner sizes. Okay? And by the way, we share that with you. But that's what I'm saying. This is the future of online. So when you think of RTB, if I could scroll back to the first screen, how it works, the technology is one thing. And it's just a simple auction. RTB is just another another way to buy media. It's the new way to buy media. Now, right now, I'm talking about banners and display ad. It also covers mobile, online video, and pretty soon IPTV, TV commercials. All right. So this is the way media is going to be bought more and more. So to give you an idea, last year RTB did just under $2 billion in 2012. They're expecting it to double and double and double over the next 3 years. All right. The amount of volume, our system at the low end now, when I did these slides, 2.5 months ago, was at 30 billion, but we have days where we hit 50 billion. Okay, programmatic buying is now becoming guaranteed programmatic buying. It's evolving very quickly, and that's the reason why we integrate with these other companies. Okay, I'm sure all of you guys know Moore's law. Moore's law means that every 18 months processing speeds are going to double. Well, there's a law that does the same thing for bandwidth and storage. One is 15 months, the other is 12 months. Those 3 are intertwined, okay? Think of like if you took a checkerboard, put a penny in the first box and doubled it, 2 pennies, then 4, and kept doubling it. By the time you get to the last box, it's $3 million. There aren't even enough pennies in existence to fill that box. Over the last 20 years, if you had changed that concept from pennies to like processing speed doubles and bandwidth doubles and storage doubles, we've already gone through over the last 20 years all the 1 penny to 2 penny, 2 penny to 4. We're on the second checkerboard, okay? Our doubling speeds are so big. That's how we're able to do all of this in 100 milliseconds, all right? And to give you an idea of the amount of data, if you were to take all the spoken words and all the written words since the beginning of time and put them into a database, you would have needed 20 of those databases just to hold all the data we collected in 2012. Okay? In 2013, they're saying you're going to need 50 to 100 times the amount of databases you had just for 2012. because just like our custom, audience building software continues to get smarter, continues to get better, that's what the internet does. Everything is just this constant test. Like if I do a split test for banners, let's say, and I run my split test, and all of a sudden A beats B, and then I put up a new one, and A beats B again, and then I put up another one, and B beats A. I can rifle through so much testing and get so much feedback, and I'm a peon in comparison to the data, the big data that is being collected across the world. And every single day they're testing their findings, they're writing these algorithms, and then they get to use it in real time on the internet to determine how accurate these algorithms are. And, just to give you an idea, this all happened in the last 2 years. RTB it's 25 months old. So you're seeing such an incredible evolution in the way we buy media in the RTB space. And if you were to just follow the money, the ad exchanges are Google, Facebook, Yahoo, Microsoft, Amazon. I've read articles where Twitter and Apple are going to get ad exchanges. Amazon just announced it. By the way, the data that's going to come from Amazon is going to be beyond anything anyone's ever seen. So, from a financial standpoint, the opportunity to be able to drive traffic. We've also built something else into the software. Okay? Ask yourself why you're on this call. You want more traffic. So does every other website owner in the world. Every business wants more traffic. So we design ClickCertain. You can come in, it's a self-serve platform, and you can take care of yourself. But we also created a system inside of ClickCertain so that if you wanted to sell retargeting and sell targeted traffic to businesses, you could. And to give you an idea, Income 500, top 16 companies in the Income 500, there were, I think, 2 in the top 16 where AdRoll was one of them, was a retargeting company. Okay? You're talking about AdRoll and Fetchback and Retargeter. They sell retargeting for like $3.50 CPM. You can get that in the market for like 30 cents, 20 cents, 10 cents. These guys are marking it up by 1,000%, and they're getting away with it because people don't understand this. They don't know that you can go to these ad exchanges, stand right next to AdRoll, bid for the same impression they're bidding for, and pay market price. The fact that up until we came on the market, you didn't have a self-serve platform, didn't exist. If you wanted to use this software and you went to MediaMath Direct, you were paying $360,000 in a 12-month contract. You had to spend $360,000 in media spend for them to give you access to the software. And you had to have an ad agency, okay? And that's beyond what you're going to have to do for conversion, for managing in site. I mean, they don't support, they don't train. That's not what they do. They want you to walk in with an ad agency who already knows how to do all this stuff. There's no training section at ththese companies. There's no online training. There's no customer support. I get an account rep who answers tech questions, but if I said, by the way, can you look at my banners and tell me why I'm not converting? They don't tell you. They don't answer that. There are 23 million companies, okay? They design this software for the companies that do 50 million or above, the 20,000 companies I mentioned earlier. There are 22 out of 23 million that do less than 1 million in revenue. There are 5 million companies that do between 750 and a million. Okay, so that's 700,000 and a million. So you're talking about a huge opportunity, because even if you were I have a guy in Rochester, New York, who has a client who does pickup and delivery for dry cleaning. How could we target that? If you asked him, what zip codes do your clients live in? What kind of incomes do they have? What kind of professions do they have? Is it suits? Is it uniforms? I mean, you can target police officers. You can target, by the profession. You can target executives. And you're talking about local traffic. So, you control the bid. You can put it in for 25 cents, 20 cents, or whatever. You obviously have to win a bid. That might not be enough, but you'll see your cost per clicks coming in at, 20 cents, 25 cents, 30 cents. You have an opportunity with our system. It's 100% autonomous. The private label system, they won't even know we're there. You don't give them a code that says click certain when they put it on the site. We give you a login for your clients so they could look at their stats. They don't go to click certain. It's just a stat company that we own, and they won't. If you can figure out where our tracking is, you can figure out where our code is, you're smart enough to write this software yourself. No one can do it. Okay? They're never going to know we exist. They will think you wrote the software for this. All right? We designed that for a reason. Okay? So with our system, you have unlimited campaigns. You can put unlimited clients in here. There's no minimum monthly spend. It's a month-to-month agreement. We have a full training video library, plus we do live training. Customer support, we use Zendesk. We answer it. We answer our questions, and we build out our knowledge base. We get on the phone and talk to our clients. I drive all my traffic this way. There's not a single thing that we do. I do training on value proposition, landing pages, buying stages. We talk about conversion funnels. There isn't a single thing that I can't show you on how to convert traffic. And one of the things that I find with the people that are in my system, and I get little one-man operations, people doing affiliate deals. I've got corporations in there. One single thing I find is people are not testing. The market determines what converts. We go through all the testing protocols. I have, 5 different things we do for landing pages, frictions and anxieties. We go through everything. We teach it. We train it. I go through conversion funnels. There's a way to do this, okay? There's a way to try, when you try to convert PPC traffic versus RTB traffic, there's a difference, and it's a simple way to explain it. This is pre-contemplation. These people haven't gone to a search box to do their research yet. They're the guys who type in flat screen TV. That's who they are, as opposed to the guy who types in, Sony 55-inch LCD flat screen. Which keyword would you say is more in the market, ready to buy? The first one or the second one? So you have to meet them where they are, and you have to take them where you want them to go. That's the buying stages. We show you how to do that. Okay? So we don't charge for a minimum monthly. Instead, what we do is we charge just to access the software. This has nothing to do with your media spend, $147 a month. And we do it for a reason. I don't want anyone to feel pressured to have to spend $5,000 or $10,000 a month. Okay? I know $147 is something that's affordable. It's something that can, buy you some time, as opposed to spending $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000 to have to spend so we can make money on the spend. We'd rather do it this way. Okay? If someone has a business or an affiliate, I haven't had anybody come into our system that hasn't been able to find traffic. Okay? If you have existing traffic, you're crazy if you're not retargeting it. Excuse me. So we added one other thing to the system to help people with the price. Okay? We have a referral program. And it's a very simple program, and people take advantage of it every day in our system. If you use Dropbox, it's very much like Dropbox. If I were to refer Mark, okay, and Mark signs up, I get $20 of media spend put into my account, plus Mark gets $20, okay? And you can refer as many people as you want, so you can make your 147 go away, all right? Everybody you know that owns a website needs more traffic, wants more traffic, and anybody who has traffic should be retargeting. When you put a cookie on your visitor's site, you have 100% control in our system. You can point it anywhere you want. You can drive it anywhere you want. All right. You get one client, 15 clients, 20 clients in there, it doesn't matter to us. Okay, you set up one campaign or you set up 500 campaigns. I don't care. All right, that's the system. And there's one other thing. I always share this, and I screw up. We wrote sales. No one's going to hard sell anybody. But if anyone has any questions, it'll get forwarded to either Mike or Pete in my office. They're great guys. Neither one of them are going to put the hammer to you, but they'll answer whatever questions you have. And then my email address is Tommy@ClickCertain. Okay, can't make it any easier for you if you have any questions. The URL, if anybody's interested in signing up, it's clickcertain.com/OfferVault. Okay, it'll be up for probably towards the end of the week, middle of next week, somewhere along there. We're gonna pull that down. But I will tell you, the referral program is not something that we offer to everybody. It's something that we are offering to you guys, and I have something else when you sign up. Okay, inside our system is when you log in, you'll see all our training and all our videos, our knowledge base, and everything. There's a ton of stuff in there. All right. I usually start these presentations off by telling everybody to sit back and, kind of absorb this. This is a lot. We've been at this for almost 2 years. We've got, I can't even tell you how much money we've invested in writing this code, and the companies we work with are major companies. All the privacy compliance stuff that's done is done by a company owned by IBM. All the ad verification stuff. There are 3 companies that we use. 2 out of the 3 of them are publicly traded. All the companies, Adobe, I can go on the list. I've been saying them all night. These are major companies. These ads are not put on bad sites. We put companies in here. This exact system that I just described to you through ClickCertain, this exact platform is used by over 50% of the Fortune 500. All right? So that's the end. I'm sure there's some questions. If not, Rick, you get anything?
Yeah, I'm just looking at something here. I'm not sure if I understand it, but then that's not unusual, Tommy. Is there any way to access the training material without signing up and spending the money at first? It sounds to me like somebody's asking you to show them how to do it before they become a member. So I'm going to think that that's not really the case, right? We're nice guys, but
No,
teaching someone how to use something
at this time, no. But I'm going to tell you something, guys, and I'm going to say this to you, and you can take it any way you want, because I'm sure, there's a lot of people who like your business. We would too, okay? We're not going anywhere, okay? I've got a good relationship with Mark. The first time, we've done anything in terms of a webinar, I'll come back. I'll do these webinars again. I'll continue to educate. I'll share videos with him. I do this for this reason. I have not a scintilla of doubt in my mind that everybody should be retargeted. At a bare minimum, if you are not cooking your visitors and trying to bring them back, you're making a mistake. In every instance, think about yourself. Do you always buy the first time you hear about something? First time you get a pitch? First time you visit a website? No. Sometimes people are, they're at different points of the parade, so to speak. They need a little bit more information. We used to teach our sales staff. I built and I sold 3 companies. I've had sales guys on the phones, in the field. We taught our sales staff, when you heard an objection, they weren't saying no. They were asking for more information. Most people just need to find a reason and a way for them to be okay with yes. So, as far as I'm concerned, if you're not retargeting, you're making a mistake. And we built this software because not only do we believe in it, I don't see how anyone can survive going forward if they're not in better control. I've been in SEO for 7 years now, selling SEO. I work with some of the best SEO minds in the United States and some around the world, and they'll be the first ones to tell you that game has changed. It's not the same. It's very, very difficult. It's not like it used to be. You used to be able to give 10, 12 links to someone and they'd win a word. Now, forget it. It's a much different world. So traffic is such a very rare commodity. If you're not in control of it, you're really at a disadvantage. So there was something I was going to try and talk to Mark about today. I'm not going anywhere, and with his permission, we'll be back. I believe in, the concept, whether you're using ClickCertain or someone else. So I know there might be some more education that needs to come. And if you want to write down a URL, one of the things, I haven't done a list in a long time. I don't sell a lot of the people's products. As a matter of fact, I don't sell anybody's. But I used to have a list, and I closed it after a couple of months. And I'm going to be reopening it. And the name of the domain is resultcertain.com. It's not up, so don't go there. But double back in a couple of weeks or a week. And I know there's a lot of people who need to kind of don't feel bad. If anyone's listening to this, I've talked to some very, very savvy internet marketing people. There's not a lot of information out there on this, so it's a little mind-boggling. People get disturbed by, oh my God, they know so much about me. They've known so much about you all along. This isn't new. So take your time. We're not going anywhere. We want your business, but we want you to be comfortable. All right. So I'll be back with some more education for you. How's that?
Well, here's one, and this is somebody who's thinking about getting involved. Besides the monthly of $147, can you give us an idea of the minimum amount someone would be looking to have to spend to do some testing once they get this thing up and rolling?
You control the bid. It depends on what you're testing. If you're going after multi-millionaires and you're buying, you have to pay for the data. It's bid plus data for that. It's a little more expensive. What I would recommend if you're looking to take that approach, do site targeting, because then it's just bid only. Bid 20, 30 cents. And by the way, when you bid 20, 30 cents, that's the maximum you're going to pay. In most cases, you pay less than half that. In some cases, you pay significantly less than that. So, again, what you might test then is something where definitively this is a great site to run an ad, because I know people who visit the site will buy what I'm looking to sell. So what I always recommend people do is they go to Alexa. They have a pretty simple system. You put your keywords in, and they'll give you all the sites, and you can build a site list that way. Contextual is bid plus 10 cents. You'll get more traffic than you know what to do with. But again, there's some testing that's involved. I would probably say, for $200 maximum, you can do some solid testing. I've seen guys do it for a little less. I hate to sit there and say a number, but there's a way to do it. I would go with site, because then you keep your cost down. You're not paying for a lot of data. I apologize. I got a cough drop in my mouth. It was so dry doing all this talking.
You didn't come prepared with a beer.
Under $200. I have a soda. It's not really working. I should have had water.
Now here's a question that people often want to look for. Do you accept PayPal? That's a quick one.
Sure.
Okay. Well,
you can pay with PayPal.
That's good, because that solves a lot of people's problems these days. This has probably been covered before, but how long has ClickCertain been in business now, Tommy?
Well, we went through a pretty extensive beta. We've been around. We just rolled out probably about a month and a half ago, but we were in beta starting in April of last year. So I had a lot of friends come in. We did a little slow, and just kept adding more and more people through the summer. The thing about software, and from a software development standpoint, there's been a lot of changes even in the last 6 months. And when we started this, we had a whole different business plan, and then programmatic became available to us. And at first, we weren't going to roll it out in our first evolution. and we looked at it and we were like, no, this is just too nice. So we kind of like, we stayed in beta a lot longer than we had hoped. And we thought we would have been out probably like, September. But then what we did, one of the things that came back was when we were in beta, it was a little too complicated. We basically, here's our system. We've taken what, marketing professionals use, and we've simplified it. And when we put people into the system, if anyone's ever been in software development, you think you have every bug out of it, and then people come in and do things you never even fathomed they would do, and they find all sorts of things. Well, one of the things that we found was, we're thinking in our heads that this is so simple and so clear, and then when we put people in it, it was like, wow, look at the bottlenecks. And what we did was, at one point in time, we completely trashed our interface and started over. And that kind of added another month to it. But one of the reasons we did it was we wanted to make it easy. We wanted to make it, I always tell the story, look, when I take my kids bowling, the first time I took them bowling, I have little ones, so we didn't have lanes with the bumpers, right? And they didn't want to go back the second time, and you can't blame them. They did not go over very many pins, right? Well, I took them back to a bowling alley that had the bumpers. Man, they had a great time because they couldn't throw a gutter ball. And what I've done with the software is, every time we see a bottleneck, every time we see a customer service question, we look at the scenario in the user interface and we streamline it, we simplify it. We call it flights. So when you go down that flight, it's simplified for you. Like, so for example, above the fold, it's already, defaulted. We used to give the options, and people would always check all. And now we let them know, like, these are the defaults we recommend. If you change it, now we have a warning pop-up. So all that evolution, we've been working at trying to get this simple. It's not hard, but one of the things that kind of jumped out at us was, we had this idea. I've been buying, and using online media for a number of years, so I was familiar with a lot of the terminology and all the setups, and then all of a sudden, you realize we did polling on our clients, the guys in the beta, and we did it over the phone. And we found out that, wow, a lot of people didn't understand a lot of this. We assumed they had some media buying experience. That was an eye-opener for us. There were a lot of new-time people coming into media buying. So, we've been working at it since April. Writing the code even before then, but we've had people in the system since April.
Well, I think the key here is that up until recently, the average person, as you already pointed out, simply couldn't get into this, because if you didn't have an ad agency and drive a big Cadillac up to the front door with a blank checkbook, they wouldn't talk to you. So this allows you to play in the big pond and get started. So your $147 and a few dollars of testing is going to take you into an arena where you can explore, as you said, targeted trafficking. And targeted traffic is where it's going to be. I like your idea of looking for women who drive Audi Q5s in the 90210 area code. That's getting down, unless you're going to start looking for specific hair color, and we won't go into clothing sizes. That's getting very narrow. To be able to get into that kind of target marketing is where you're going to have more success. That's the whole focus of this,
right,
isn't it?
So think of it like this. If you're buying a single impression, right? So if I advertise on a website and I wanted to find that woman, so I advertise on Family Circle, I advertise on Redbook, or I advertise on some, mom site, right? There will be a certain percentage where my ad will have, some sort of relevance, and there will be a whole bunch of people where there's no relevance at all. So when you start to look at how much you're advertising, you're putting in front of people that have no way in hell of buying what you're selling. If you could get those dollars back, you would be able to use that to get to the person you actually want. And what this does is it changes the dynamic. It's all about the audience. It's all about down to that audience level to be able to buy one single impression of your best prospect. And that's never been done before. And our level, it's never been available before. Like you said, you had to have You have to have deep pockets to go in. I have some clients that spend 30, 40, 50,000 a month with us on media spend. And I said to them, if you guys want to go direct, and they said, to a man, you know, maybe one day, but I like using the system because there's no pressure on them to have to spend it every month. Whereas if you go to these companies, they require you to sign a 12-month contract. So if you have a $30,000 a month minimum spend guarantee on a 12-month contract, you basically just committed to spend $360,000. So, and not only that, none of these companies. This is the other thing that people find, because having been in this business now, they don't take credit cards to buy media. You have to get approved for a line of credit. So, when the first company that we went with, because we tested everybody out to see who we wanted to work with, they required us to get a $200,000 a month line of credit because they weren't looking at the 20,000, at 30,000, or 40,000 level. They wanted, they want you to spend money because that's the only way they're making money. That's why they have the guarantees.
Yeah, you're dealing with the Madison Avenue mentality where, it's
Exactly.
General Electric, so you've got a budget, the gross national product of some small communities or third world
Right.
nations.
I just wanted to have the best software in the world that was affordable. And you know what? That's what I believe we've built. The system allows the smallest company in the world to have the same exact software as Ford, American Express, American Airlines, Kayak.com, all the same companies that we aspire to be. This is the tool, not something that's similar or like this exact platform. Now, I've taken that system and I've modified it. So like, for example, there's no mobile in here today. It's there. We use it in-house for our clients. There's online video. It's not available on ClickCertain. If anybody wants it, we'll be more than happy to work with them to get that arranged. But we did it for a reason. We want to bring people along slowly. It's like I could stand here and use terminology you may not understand. It sounds great. I sound smart, but if it's not really helping my clients, then what good is it? You know what I mean? So we simplified our system so that you can come in and buy basically market rate and use the exact same software, the biggest, best companies in the world. They're doing 50 million a year for a reason. They use tools like this.
Well, I think everybody should take a look at clickcertain.com because let's face it, in this economy, for those of us who still don't own an island, the ability to play in the same pool with the same tools as the big companies, with the specific advantage of no absolute contract, no massive minimum budget required. It's, in other words, it's you can spend up, spend down, or spend nothing some month if you don't need to. The ability to do some testing on your own and grow with it. This is where marketing really pays off. Finding the customer based on information that you can get access to and showing them your product right up front. Thanks very much, Tommy. You guys check it out, and that's clickcertain.com/OfferVault. You've got something set up for the members to go and check out. Am I
Yep.
right?
And everybody who gets involved when you get inside, we keep track of all the OfferVault clients. We've got a little something for you. The idea, if we can end on this, the idea, the concept of every website is to get traffic there and to convert it. And right now, if you're using something like SEO or even Google PPC, that game is rigged. I mean, Google does $9 billion a quarter selling ads. They don't make a nickel off of search engine optimization. Okay? They do not want you to win. The number one spot on Google is going to be on page 3 before it's all over. And I speak from personal experience. But here's the thing. When I talk to the smallest guy and I talk to the biggest guy, they have the same problem, and that's traffic. You have to get your ads in front of your best prospects, and you have to stay there. Get in front, stay in front. They cannot buy what you don't offer. They cannot make up their mind in the first time. Some do, most don't. So even if you close 1%, let's say 2%, 98 out of 100 people leave, you cannot tell me logically that some of those 98 weren't interested. So if nothing else, whether it's with ClickCertain or someone else, I recommend you look into retargeting. You look into using, paid traffic. It's a little more complicated than, say, building a rocket ship, but no, it's not complicated. The programmatic side is MIT design. It's decision-making software. That's the most complicated part of this. You can do very well in our system if you never touch that. Okay, but I know that there are people on this call that are going to use that type of software. They're capable of it. But I wanted you to see the whole thing. So I appreciate you guys having me. I really do. Anyone has any questions? Tommy at ClickCertain, sales at ClickCertain. Go to clickcertain.com/OfferVault, and I appreciate everyone's time.
Thanks so much, Tommy. We really appreciate it, and maybe we'll see you around on the next time. And guys, check it out. It's an opportunity that is well worth investigating, especially if you've ever had the misfortune of trying to buy media these days on your own. Challenge that most people can't get through.